Hi, I'm Arthur. Okay, this one is entirely for me. This video is going to be 100% more or less self-indulgent because I'm gonna pull back the curtain a little bit here and just let you guys know this. I really like horror. Oh, who would have thought? The guy who consistently talks about the Night Lords in as many videos as humanly possible has a thing for horror. Yeah, big if true, but honestly, it goes pretty far beyond what you would consider a normal fascination. Unironically, I think horror and spookiness is one of my favorite aspects to any piece of media I consume. So what is the implication here? Well, we are talking about one of my favorite concepts, or rather, things in the setting. It's one of the first things I ever learned about when it came to 40K as a whole, and I think you all should appreciate this specific thing more, as well as listen to me talking about them for a little bit. Before I do that, I want to do something different and just thank my channel members for supporting me. YouTube has been kind of shafting me a little bit with views and subs for some reason recently, so seeing you all stick around has definitely been supportive. It's definitely helped me kind of gain that motivation to get back in the saddle and work on YouTube videos more. So, thanks to all my channel members for supporting me. And if you want to support me as well and keep promoting this specific content for all of you to see, then become a channel member today. And if you become an Arthur Lord, you also gain access to an additional video every second week. So, I give back to you guys as best I can. So yeah, the Flayed ones. My beloved. Hey, Bricky didn't copyright that phrase. I can say it however much I want to. But yeah, I love these guys. And what's not to love? Existential horrors beyond our comprehension that are for once not man-made. They are an amazing concept. So before I start gushing, let's talk about metaphysics real quickly. Or rather, philosophy in application with the concept of metaphysics. So, you ever think about the concept of eternity? You're presented with numerous ideas. The idea of living forever. Some people can't even put on a scale how long forever is. I am in my late 20s, and the idea of living longer than maybe 3 times what I've already lived is preposterous to me, but I'm probably gonna hit that, I hope. But the main thing that a lot of people forget is that after living a couple hundred, couple thousand, couple million years, you'd get a little weird. You'd do all the things you want to do, and you'd start to find new things to do. So it's something that not a lot of people think about, because if you are something that draws breath, one day you are not going to draw breath. It's a scary concept. Pretty scary thought in general. But what if it didn't have to be that way? What if you didn't draw breath, but lived nonetheless? What if no matter what happened, you would live more or less for all eternity with no repercussions to your physicality whatsoever? Hell, you'd probably become even stronger. That is a bit of a conundrum. I've seen a lot of fiction, and as I said before, I don't see many people tackle it in such an interesting way. Sure, there's these characters that show up that say they are 5 million years old, ancient whatevers, and they just act like a normal person, but it's never really done in a way that I find satisfactory. But with the Necron in 40K, I think it is done very well. They, or at least the ones that maintain their sanity due to the biotransference process of becoming a Necron from a Necron tier, to some degree are alive and are conscious of the fact that they will stay alive for a very long time, if not forever in some cases. There is this acknowledgement that is silently observed by the Necron that if they have no purpose, they will go insane. But at some point, they will run out of things to become their purpose. It doesn't matter how long it takes. If you have to tackle with the concept of eternity, it doesn't matter if your idea is paint all of the best paintings you could think of. You are going to do that at some point, and then you have to move on to the next thing. As I always say, the root of all things evil starts with someone being bored and pushed to do something they normally wouldn't. Madness is very common in the Necron ranks and nobility, but the most invasive and horrifying form of it is none other than the Flayed One curse. I love the Flayed Ones like you wouldn't believe. I love their concept, I love their aesthetic, and I love their miniatures. But what are they, and why are they one of the most dangerous plagues a Necron could indulge in? Well, to start there, we have to go back to the idea of metaphysics again. And what is reality if all things are tied to some kind of godly constant that needs to exist in order for a concept to stay existing. So, the Catan, gods of the physical world, all represent a physical and tangible idea to its utmost principle. It could be an action, it can be a state of being, it can be a physical thing, but it is something that you can put a finger on and say, that is that. That is a thing. Death, lies, machines, and in this case, I guess, flaying? Sometimes you have to be a bit specific with what you can be a god of, Yeah, Londugor is kind of, I'm not certain how it's pronounced either, but, let's go with Londugor, because that seems like the correct way. He's kind of an odd entity, where his concept is probably something to do with violence, gore, and most likely murder. We've never had it truly confirmed, but the one thing we do have truly confirmed is that he was the only Catan that was actually fully destroyed, not shattered, removed from the universe as a whole. And apparently, the universe doesn't like it when you murder concepts. So, with reality shaken to its core with the destabilization of destroying a Catan, the Necron realized that, that maybe isn't a good idea. So instead of killing the ancient star god of steak and pizza, they divided him into numerous delicious shards alongside his brothers that also come with a variance in terms of flavor and texture, I would assume. But Londugor placed a curse on the Necron that basically meant his concept of being would exist into the modern day as long as they so exist. But also, it was kind of a last-ditch middle finger to the Necron who killed him, so there's that. This is known as the Flayer curse, and it's one of the coolest ideas in the Warhammer sphere I've ever seen. Basically, once in a while, a random Necron will start to show symptoms like a disease. They will get more and more aggressive, more likely to run into melee instead of shooting, more likely to disagree with their superiors' orders, and this gets worse over time. The amount of time it takes depends on the individual, but it does eventually progress to the point where they inevitably lose their mind, which coincides with that idea of eternity and madness I was discussing earlier, where in general, it might take hundreds, thousands, millions of years, but eventually you will succumb to it and run out of shit to do. The Flayer's curse just gets you there a little bit faster. You will slowly grow more and more insatiable in combat, and here's the part that I love. The emotionless Necron, at a certain point in the Flayer curse, begins to feel a singular emotion for the first time in its history of existence as a robot. And if you or I were a trite writer when we were writing this, you would say something like, oh, so they feel like what? Hate, right? Or anger? No, it's so much worse than that. They feel hungry. They have no mouth and they must eat. The boys get hungry, but they do not have a stomach or a movable jaw. The skull faceplate is mostly just for decoration, to be honest. It's super chilling to know that the only emotion they feel is pure unbridled hunger. It's so dark. So during the later stages of the curse, they will attempt to gorge themselves on the meats of the people and entities that they slay, even though it just drips down their weird faceplate into their metal ribcage. The curse finally progresses into their living metal bodies being twisted and contorted into living weapons that would likely be better at skinning, slicing, and, flaying people in order to wear their skin while also eating their meat. Well, pretending to eat their meat, actually. Side note, I like the fact that, canonically, in older models for the Flayed ones, the Flayer virus would give them a grr, I'm scary, angry faceplate sometimes. I think that's silly. But regardless, with elongated blade limbs, they also get a new ability that is surprising, being able to teleport in and out of a pocket dimension at will, which is horrifying because it's never stated there is a limit to where they can or can't show up, though it is implied they only show up at battlefields where the Necron are to kill and drag off captives to their weird pocket world. Canonically, we don't know much about the world, but we do know that it is smelly, for one, and also kind of really gross as it's filled with nothing but rotten corpses and robots pretending to eat them. God, this is such a gross and cool concept. And fun fact, once in a while, a Flayer doesn't fully go insane and maintains most of their faculties. These individuals are called Flayer Kings, which I didn't know about until I started my research on this and started reading Necron codexes. I'm half surprised GW didn't make that a model yet, though I do get it. I think the Flayer King might still be a relic of a bygone era where it was only mentioned once, like how the old Wraith models used to be just Necron Flayers on top with long-ass tails and floaty bits. I think that's really cute. But it would be cool if GW released a model for them, though I get why they wouldn't, because it would just be buffing Necron Flayed ones, which is already a bit of a niche model for an army anyway. Another fun fact, the Necron faction that is affixed with the most instances of the Flayed one virus, except that one on planet Drazek, we don't talk about that one, is the Maynarkh dynasty, which honestly makes sense as they are one of the most violent of the Necron dynasties and are incredibly warlike in their way of fighting, so they often see more combat and would cause the disease to progress faster. The vector of spread for the disease, we don't truly know. We know that it can pop up in completely uninfected individuals who've never interacted with the Flayed ones, but we do know that it does spread more rapidly if there are Flayed ones nearby. But back to it, the more interesting idea that the Maynarkh dynasty represents, and the reason why that they are likely more fixed with the curse, is it's actually heavily implied that they were the dynasty to have killed Landagor, the Flayer, the one who affixed the curse to the entirety of the Necron race, which would explain why that they are more strongly affiliated with the curse as a byproduct. That's kind of interesting, right? Yeah, I just think they're cool, which is why I made this video. Fun fact number 3, before I was going to be Arthur Bones the Servo Skull, I was going to be Arthur Bones the Necron, which coincided with me wanting to pick up a new Xenos army before I started making YouTube videos. The Necron army itself was going to be completely themed around Flayed ones and making other people fail leadership and so on and so forth, but Leagues of Votann came out and that was going to be my Xenos faction for a long ass time. It fell through, but I still think about it. If I wasn't tied up in 2 different armies right now that I wanted to play more of, I'd totally do it, but I gotta ride or die Votann forever, right? So, what do you think about the Flayed ones? Think they are cool? Think they are not? Want more from them? Or do you just want me to cover that one planet from the Ghoul Stars? You let me know in the comments, and I'll make sure to reply to as many of you as I can this time, because I'm very passionate about this weird alien abstract horror. Also, remember to like and subscribe, as it helps me out a lot. Thanks once again for watching, and yeah, no, Ghoul Stars, at some point I'm gonna cover them. The Ghoul Stars are probably my favorite topic, so yeah, we going to Flayer City, baby!